Welcome back to Flagstone Trail, listeners. You know the drill. It's our deep dive into Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
That's right. We're back at it.
This time we're tackling Law 8, and this one is fascinating. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary.
Bait. This sounds a little Machiavellian, even for this book.
It can be, but it can also be about strategic patience, understanding power dynamics, but not through force.
So more like setting a trap and letting the
Prey walk right in. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Where do we even begin with this one?
Well, we've got some great examples from history, actually. Think Napoleon.
Napoleon? Wait, like Emperor Napoleon?
The one and only. Remember when he escaped from Elba in 1815?
Oh, right. Everyone back then thought it was this impossible feat, a testament to his genius.
Exactly. But when you dig deeper, it wasn't just Napoleon's cunning. There was another player at work. Talleyrand.
Talleyrand? Wasn't he like Napoleon's?
Kind of, yeah. They had a complicated relationship. Frenemies, probably the best term. But anyway, Talleyrand was a master strategist. He saw the fear that Napoleon, even in exile, caused.
The European powers were terrified Napoleon would come back, right?
Exactly. And Talleyrand used that to his advantage. Instead of trying to, contain Napoleon directly.
He basically said, hey, Napoleon, guess what? Everyone still loves you back in France. And some of the other powers, they might be on your side too.
He did. It was all super subtle, of course. But he planted those ideas, like seeds, appealing to Napoleon's ego, his ambition.
Oh, so he baited him. Like, come on, Napoleon, just take one little bite of this opportunity.
And Napoleon did. Hook, line, and sinker. He escaped, landed in France, and, well, the rest is history. Waterloo and all that.
Wow. Okay, so the takeaway isn't just like, don't be ambitious. It's that someone can use your ambition against you.
Exactly. Talleyrand understood patience, strategic maneuvering. He didn't confront Napoleon. He set the stage for Napoleon to act in a way that
ultimately served his interests. That's incredible. So it's like, instead of rushing in head first, you analyze the situation, figure out what the other person wants.
And then you create a scenario where they basically walk into their own downfall.
Yeah, kind of. But of course, it doesn't always have to be so.
Devious.
Yeah.
Manipulative.
Yeah. Like this law can be applied to everyday situations too, like at work. Think about it. Have you ever been in a meeting where someone's pushing a project that you know is a bad idea?
All the time.
Instead of charging in and saying, this is a disaster waiting to happen, think Law 8. Ask questions.
Questions? Like what? Hey, so has anyone run the numbers on this?
Exactly. Or what if this external factor that we have zero control over suddenly changes?
You're basically pointing out the flaws without being confrontational.
Right. You're letting the problems reveal themselves naturally. So instead of fighting, you're maneuvering.
And ideally, that person realizes the project is a dud and maybe even
against you for advice. Yeah, that's the ideal outcome. This is blowing my mind. So it's like judo, but with ideas and power dynamics. You're using their own force against them.
Exactly. And you're projecting this aura of, I'm calm, I'm observant, I see what others miss.
Okay, I need a minute to process all this.
We both do. And luckily, we have a whole nother part to keep talking about Law 8.
Okay, I think I've caught my breath. But this judo move, this making people come to you, how often does this actually work in real life? It seems almost too good to be true.
It's not about tricks, It's about a shift in mindset. Law 8 is less about manipulation and more about understanding those currents of power, like you were saying.
Right. But how do I use it? Like, give me a real-world scenario, say at work.
Okay, imagine everyone's scrambling for that big promotion.
Yeah.
Instead of being the loudest voice in the room.
You let your work do the talking?
Exactly. You focus your energy on being excellent, delivering those high-quality results consistently.
Because people notice competence, right? It's not about bragging. It's about being the one who always delivers.
And it builds over time. You become that reliable person everyone knows they can count on.
Makes sense. But what if I have an idea? Like a great idea, but I don't want to seem like I'm pushing it.
Law 8 can help there too. Instead of barging into your boss's office, demanding attention, think more strategically.
Oh, I see. Like, I could mention this amazing idea to a colleague.
Casually, yeah. Knowing that word gets around, It's like planting a seed, letting the buzz build organically.
So by the time my boss hears about it, it's not just me pushing it. They feel like they've discovered this brilliant idea.
And they're more invested because it feels like their own.
That's smart. But doesn't this require a lot of trust? Like, what if someone takes credit or the idea gets lost in the shuffle?
That's where you need to understand your workplace. Who are the influencers, the people the boss actually listens to? Who can you trust?
It's like a whole game within the game of work. You're not just completing tasks. You're navigating relationships, information flow.
Precisely. And that's what makes Law 8 so powerful. It's not just waiting, it's active observation, using those subtle levers of influence.
Okay, work stuff aside, I'm still curious about this dating example. You mentioned that before. How does Law 8 work in, say, starting a relationship?
Well, it ties into that age-old advice, play hard to get. Of course, there are limits. You don't want to be manipulative.
Right, but there's a reason that saying has stuck around. If you're too available, too eager.
It could actually make you less attractive, yeah.
So the more I chase, the more I push someone away.
It's a common paradox. When you're constantly seeking validation from someone, it kind of diminishes your own value.
So focus on myself instead. My own passions, goals, all that.
Exactly. You build this fulfilling life outside of romance, and that makes you more interesting, more desirable.
It's like you're saying, hey, I have a great life. Come join me if you want. And that's more appealing than please like me.
It's about genuine self-improvement, not some manipulative tactic.
Okay, so I see how that works for starting a relationship. But what about when you're already in one? Like, what if I feel neglected?
That's where Law 8 can be really powerful. Instead of complaining, making demands, which often backfires.
You shift the focus back to yourself.
Right.
Reconnect with hobbies, friends, things you love doing.
So I'm showing them, hey, I have a life outside of you. My happiness doesn't depend entirely on you.
And that can spark a little bit of, well, maybe jealousy. Or at least curiosity.
They realize, wait, they're not just waiting around for me.
Precisely. And it might just be the push they need to start putting in more effort.
So whether it's work or relationships, Law 8 is about creating that space for people to come to you.
Instead of forcing things. And often that's the most effective path to getting what you want.
You know, it's funny, we've been talking about this, Law 8, making people come to you, almost like it's this foolproof strategy for everything.
Yeah, like some Jedi mind trick. But I'm thinking there have to be times when this isn't the right move.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Law 8 is powerful, but it's not some magic solution for every situation.
So when does it fall apart? When is being subtle just the wrong approach?
Well, think about emergencies, right? Like if your house is on fire.
You don't just sit back and wait for the firefighters to invite themselves in.
Exactly. Sometimes you need to take immediate action. No time for bait or maneuvering.
Okay, so fires, natural disasters.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But what about in, like, everyday work life?
Even there, sometimes you need to take charge. Say your team's facing a major setback and everyone's looking to you for leadership.
You can't just sit there and hope someone else steps up.
Right. That's when you need to be decisive, show that you're in control. Sometimes that's what makes people come to you.
So there are times when being assertive, making that bold move, is actually the most effective way to, well, draw people in.
Exactly. It's about reading the situation, understanding what's needed. Sometimes it's leadership, sometimes it's quick thinking.
It's like that saying, there's a time to speak and a time to be silent. Law 8 is great for the silent times, but you need to know when to break that silence.
Exactly. It's all about judgment, understanding the dynamics at play.
Okay, so we've got emergencies, leadership moments, any other times when Law 8 might backfire.
Think about when someone's trying to damage your reputation, like spreading rumors about you at work.
You can't just ignore that and hope it goes away.
Right. You might need to address it directly, set the record straight, show that you're not going to be a pushover.
So Law 8 is a tool, but you can't let it turn into a weakness.
Exactly. And there's another potential downside. If you're always waiting for people to come to you, you might miss out on opportunities that require you to be proactive.
Oh, I see what you mean. You don't want to be so focused on this long game that you miss out on taking action now.
Right. It's about finding that balance between patience and knowing when to seize the moment.
This has been a great discussion. Law 8 is more complex than I initially thought.
It really is. It's not just about sitting back and waiting. It's about influence, timing, strategy.
And knowing when to break the rules.
Exactly.
Well, listeners, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from Napoleon to office politics to even, relationship advice. Who knew Law 8 could be so versatile?
It just goes to show power dynamics are everywhere, and understanding them can really give you an edge.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll wrap up this Flagstone Trail deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and until next time.
Keep those minds sharp, and remember, knowledge is power.